Chapter 3. Caden. I wandered into the shop early to find Bryan waiting on a few customers, and not at all concerned about me being a few minutes late. He and Lane had hired enough people to give me a break, and Bryan one if he needed to leave for a few hours. "Where's Lane?" "He took off to be with Scott. Grayle had to go out of town, and he needed Scott to stay overnight with Amy." Bryan wasn't a man that would offer too much information if it wasn't about himself, therefore I had to ask him outright. "Did Lane or Scott say that Gray left with Austin?" "I think they did leave together, but you'll have to ask Lane about that." That was all I needed to get me pissed with him and that whole arrangement. My mind was running away with me, and I didn't want to face what I thought was the truth. They had reconciled, and they were going away to be together to patch things up, for the sake of their baby. I stormed off to hide in my office and do as little work as possible. Stare at the clock, check on my new website, and check on the online orders, to determine if they had gone out on time. I needed to let out my frustrations and bark at someone, if the things weren't done properly. To my disappointment, every order had been filled. There were so many orders for coffee and tea and Bryan's specialty candy, and to my surprise, all of the orders had got out early. The website looked great. Bryan knew how to get the work done, and I didn't know what I would do when he was ready to move on. I sat behind my computer and tried not to think about Bryan leaving me, and Gray more than I should. I scrolled through TikTok, Instagram, and FB, only to see all the likes for my shop and then for the orders. "Oh fuck me," I groaned. Anyone would be excited to see these numbers, but not me. Bryan was making my shop a success, even as I'd hoped he would slow it down. I was afraid that what went up would surely come down, and I didn't think I could handle the pace of how it was climbing, and when it would hit a plateau, and I'd lose money and have to work harder with no time to get my life together. When I glanced up, my mind wandering, Bryan was standing in front of me with his arms crossed. I looked past him to see who was manning the different areas. It was still slow on a Sunday morning, but I knew that wouldn't last long. "Do you need something, Bryan?" "A day off," he said, his voice showing his disinterest. I knew that would happen, but not this soon. He sank in the chair in front of him, rubbed his new-formed beard. I glanced at him. He reacted to the displeasure he thought he saw in my eyes. It wasn't the beard, it was the realization that he'd be leaving me soon. "Don't worry, I'm shaving it. The razor burns are a killer." I didn't need to hear about his personal life, especially since mine wasn't what you would call a walk in the park. "Save the descriptions for another time," I informed Bryan. "What day do you want off?" "I need more than a day." The way I felt, I couldn't spare even a day. "But we can't replace you," I insisted. "I think you may have forgotten one thing, Cade. I'm just volunteering. I was trying to help you and Lane, and now that Lane and Scott have gotten what they want to build their home, I'm not needed here any longer. I have to spend time working on a relationship. I lost my partner because of too much work. We're in court. The judge said that before he grants a divorce, that we both need to see a therapist. I think it's time for me to settle down. I'm 40. If I remember correctly, and I'm not trying to be a dick, but you lost your partner because you fucked around on him." "That too, but I'd been traveling too much, and what was I going to do?" "How about wait until you got home?" "Not every man is like you, Cade. Some men can't control themselves," Bryan said as he sheepishly glanced over at me, as if he thought I'd buy what he was selling, but I wouldn't. "Your cock doesn't control you, you control it, or it would be walking around and you wouldn't." He rolled his eyes. He didn't want to hear me give him advice at my age. Who the fuck was I to give anyone advice? I thought, glaring at Bryan. "Look, Cade, I have organized everything for a week. All you have to do is show up. Can you do that?" I knew what he meant by the tone of his voice. He was reminding me that I owned this place. It was my baby, and I'd better act like it, because he wasn't going to be around forever. I met someone, he blurted out. Where? Finally, you've decided to settle down, I said, my voice hopeful. Who is he, and when can we meet him? Bryan lowered his head, then he said, on my drive here, I stopped to get gas at a truck stop. No, don't tell me he's a hustler. Not at all. I'd stopped to buy coffee, and he was stepping off a Greyhound bus, and he was just standing there looking around. He looked lost. He's about 18 or 20, and I swear I've seen him before, but it was something about him that called to me. Were you driving that sports car I've seen you in? Yeah. But what does that have to do with anything? He was calling you because he saw that expensive car. Did he ask you for a ride? No, he did not. What's with the 2020 questions? Haven't you been desperate for anything? No, I forgot you had parents who gave you everything, and put you up in a business that you don't want. There's no need to be nasty, Bryan. I just want you to think about what you're getting ready to do. Do you even know his name? I asked. He said his name was Valentine. Who names their son Valentine? Sounds like a fake name to me. Did you get his last name? No. I was too enthralled with this boy to ask. You should have seen me when he asked for a light. I fumbled around, looking in my pockets for a lighter. I'd forgotten that I don't smoke anymore. So, how the fuck are you going to find him? They must have some information on people who travel on their bus. He was at this truck stop not far from here. But that was over a month ago. Maybe you're right. I let another man slip out of my life. I knew this one was for real. I just knew it. From the first time I glanced into his big, beautiful blue eyes. He sounded like me when I spoke about Grayle, so how could I fault Bryan for dreaming, even if it was about the one who got away? Bryan rose from the chair and looked at me and said, Do I have this time off? I think I need a week to track him down. I didn't know how long it would take, but I had no confidence in finding a young man traveling on a bus going who knows where. Yet I tried to give Bryan the confidence and hope he needed. Take all the time you need, but let me know when you're going to leave me, so I can hire a manager because I'm in need of days off myself. You know, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. My thoughts too. To help your love life, you need to start by stopping over and talking to Scott and Lane. I'll wait until Wednesday. After that, I need to do something, and I'm out of here. Oh, by the way, can I use your computer? I need to see if I can find out about Valentine. Bryan smiled and shook his head when he said Valentine's name. I'd never seen Bryan so happy about anyone or anything. Sure. I'm going to Gray's and talk to Lane and Scott around lunchtime. I'm only going to take an hour.